This is Razgrease 2006 or Alex Rothermel on Facebook, and I have 3 DM engines for you today, and we're going to go over them and talk about which O-rings should go where when you purchase a high-performance O-ring kit. I'm going to adjust this camera down a bit. And then I'm also going to see if I can zoom this in a little bit. Okay, the zoom's not working, but this is good enough. We can work from here. So this is my M2 engine, and this here is my Dm8-15 engine. And this, the one we'll be working on today, is our Dm14 engine. So we're going to start with just the bolt itself, and I'm going to play with the brightness here a little bit so there's a little less reflection. So we're going to start with the tip. You're going to want to go to where it says 01450. This is a softer bolt tip O-ring, and what this is going to allow you to do is this is going to let you be a little softer on your paint stack and also take your can off without any trouble. So I'm putting on this 01450 on the tip, and I want to show you real easy, not a problem, very easy to do. So moving on, the only choice you have for the bumpers is the 11150. These don't seal. They're not very important. They're just there to be a bumper. So you just take these, roll them on. Should go on no problem and stay on. These also kind of quiet the shot of the gun too, because instead of the bolt smacking on the 70 bumper and just kind of stopping, the 50 bumpers kind of a little bit to slow the bolt down and be a little less loud. Now, if you have a basic kit that's this size, for the bolt sail, you're going to just pick your best red O-ring out of your kit and put it there. But for those of you who decided to get the preferred O-ring set, you'll go to where it says on your box 015/50, and this is the only place you'll be using this O-ring. And it's important when you're putting the 01550 on, you want to stretch this as least as possible. You do not want to rubber band it across. You just want to slide it over there, and then it should go right into place. And then moving on, if you bought the basic kit, you'll be using the 011/60 O-rings, like so. They look like this. Or if you bought the preferred kit, I've been testing these O-rings for about 6 months now, and I found that with almost 90% success rate, we can use the 01150s here. So if you have the preferred kit, this is where, to get a little extra performance, you'll want to use the 01150, and that should just go on no problem. And then just to show that the 60s can also go there, like I said, if you bought the preferred kit, you'll be using black here more than likely for the best performance. But if you bought the basic kit, you'll get these ultra safe, never had a problem with them, 01160s. See how you can go with either there. And conversely, if you ever have a problem with a little bit of air coming out the back, you could even have the forward O-ring be the easy one, and then the backward O-ring be the safe one, to get more performance but still have that safety factor. I run these as I'll show you here in a second, I run these as 50s. And I haven't had any issues in the 5 months or so that I've been testing. Yeah, that's goopy. So moving on, we're going to do the inner can here. For this right here, for your out of the box, I just want to have a better setting and go to the field and play. I recommend going to your 01760, and what it is these inside parts, they rely on the O-ring kind of mushing out. So you want to go with the harder option here to be safe, but it's still much better than, say, a stock orange O-ring, because the hardness does make a difference. And it might take you a minute or two to get these in. You just want to kind of guide it into the groove first, and then get the other side into the groove, and then you might need to put your pinky to kind of push it back and forth until it finally finds its way in there. But as you can see, the white O-ring is in there, and you can actually put this backwards over to kind of test how it's writing. This one's kind of sticking, but a little lube. And this particular bolt runs kind of big, so that also contributes to that. But then you have your inner top hat. Once again, for these inside ones to be safe, just to get you going. If you want to tinker later, you can use your black 017s and black 014s, but I just want to get it in there. And this one's a little harder because you can't go in from the other side, and just kind of see how it's kind of not all the way in there. You just want to work it in. And I hope I don't have to speed up the video. Alright, just about got it. And then, see, that's all the way in. And then once again, you can put that on there to see how it's writing. And then for this one, this is kind of the most critical of the O-rings. Right here, this is what creates a lot of your starting friction. Originally, when the whole experiment started, I was using an 014 here, but I noticed, and other people have noticed, that sometimes, because if you look, in order for this to vent, the bolt comes off contact with the O-ring, so this is a really critical phase here and here. That can cause failure in a 50 O-ring, but in a 60 O-ring, it's never caused any trouble. So once again, this one's a little harder to get in. Bear with me here. Now I wanted to, while I'm doing this, I wanted to remind everybody that the M2 engine, when it comes to the O-ring placement, is 99.9% the same. So don't worry just because I'm working on a Dm14 engine. All the same principles still apply. Oh, come on, go in. All right. So let the camera focus there. See that white O-ring in there? And then once again, you can, to test how this rides, you can put it on straight, or you can put it on backwards to see how just that 014 is doing. So there you go. How I run these is on the bolt itself, 01450, 11150 bumpers, 01550 bolt sail, and 01150 tail on both of these. I just showed the white one here to be to offer an option. And then on the interior ones, I recommend, especially if you're first starting, to do 01760, 01760, 01460. And then the last thing, it's not as big of a problem with the with the M2s, but the Dm8-15s had a problem with bolt pullout. You'd try and get it out and it wouldn't go. So if you got a preferred kit, you got 01970s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where you put those 01970s, and they still work on an M2. It's just, it's not as much of a problem with an M2, but that's what the kit comes with. So if you want to use them, you can. It'll make it a little bit easier. And if you don't want to use them, that's fine too. But I suppose I should show you, how you go about lubing this. I just got some big nasty thing of Dow 33 medium here. And kind of like how Billy Wing showed in his videos, you want to get some here. It actually get some here. I'm kind of spooging that on. And get some here. Hit the tail. And then something I always do, I'm not sure if it's necessary or not, but in here, this interior surface actually doesn't come in contact, so you don't really need to worry about it. The only thing you need to worry about in the, I'm trying to get more Dow 33, is just hit these O-rings, make them wet, like people say. And then same with this one right here. Now, the can, on the other hand, is different because your 015 is what swipes in here. So you're going to want to kind of, you want to hit the O-ring, obviously. But you also want to kind of just generally get the lube in the can too. So as you're putting it all back together, come on guys, where'd you put my, okay, there it is. I'm just gonna switch this over for a second. So as you're getting it all together, you want to take this, and then don't forget this last part right here. Just give that a good lube up. And then of course lube your outside O-rings. I'm not going to do that because my hands are already pretty lubey. And then just kind of cycle the bolt back and forth a couple of times, and you can see that's a lot easier to do. Well, I think my camera kind of sucks, but now I wanted to show you. People talk about breaking in O-rings, and yes, that is a thing. But with these O-rings, you can kind of skip most of it. But after a certain amount of time, these do break in as well. See that? That is gravity. Now, it's stopping here because that 014 O-ring in here, Dye machines a step into their bolt to a kind of an extra hard seal to make sure it doesn't leak it at idle. But if you just see that, that is minimum possible LPR pressure right there. And then because of part fitment, because of O-rings not being totally broken in yet, this one's not quite there, but it is still very easy to do. So while I've got you here, I wanted to, just so for ease of sending people videos, I wanted to talk about my restrictor plates. So I'm going to go ahead and go into these, try and make it brief. These act as a recoil reduction system, or like a Zit kit or a feather touch on a Lux. What they do is there's a very small hole in them. I know it's hard to see that, but there's a hole there. And they're labeled 9, 8, and 7. And what they do is they force the returning bolt air, or the returning bolt, to compress just a small cushion of air through a tiny hole. And what that does is it slows the bolt down on the return, and it slows it down going forward. And I'm going to try and put this close to the microphone so you guys can hear what's happening. There's kind of sound. And this is not an upgrade so much as it is a trade-off, because these plates reduce your total feet per second. You have to turn your regulator up a bit, depending on which plate you use. It's more of a trade-off. You know, do you want your bolt to go slower and have less recoil, or do you want to be totally efficient? And the reason why is because the valve here, the faster a valve opens is what creates the difference between a and a pop. It's slowly opening is going to be quieter and make a whoosh, whereas a pop is just going to make a pop sound. It's fast and it's explosive and it's efficient. So just real quick to go over the settings. If you're using a number 9 plate, this should be just about drop-in. It's the biggest hole, the least amount of restriction, and it really shouldn't take anything off, maybe just a little bit, and you just put that in and go rock and roll. Now, if you want to use the number 8 plate, then I recommend that you turn your dwell up to 21, because it slows down the bolt going forward, and it slows it down going backwards as well. Turning it down to 21, turning your dwell up to 21, and it'll also take about 10 FPS off of your total shot, making you less efficient. But that's slowing the bolt down going forward and slowing it down going backwards, which, if you like less recoil, that's a plus for you. Or it's marker specific, but if you decide to use a number 7 plate, this is the smallest hole, the most restriction, you may have to have your dwell even higher. And like I said, it's marker specific. But if you're at a terrible tournament venue where the paint is like glass and you just need to, no matter how inefficient your gun is, you just need it to fire a paintball, this number 7 plate will really slow it down going both ways to make it as soft as possible. So I think that's about it. I've tested the LP kit here in the M2. It does seem to work, but there'll be more testing going forward. I can't just sell something and be like, hey, it works, and not actually have truly tested it. But just to show you real quick that it does actually fit. Now the key is with this though is the top hat is longer and the manifold is shorter on the 14-15, but they have the same overall length. So it's either 6.5 of the other, or 6 or half a dozen, whatever that saying is. But see, the O-rings line up, but the thread places don't. So you can use a Dm8-15 top hat and manifold together, or you can use an M2 top hat and manifold together. But if you mix the parts, say you have 14 top hat M2 manifold, it's too long. And conversely, if you have these two parts, it's too short. But anyway, I'm going to go run and grab my M2 real quick just to show you that this does fit. I'll be right back. M2, or the 14-15 LP kit. And the one time I chronoed this, it was 131 psi shooting 290 feet per second. But seems to work. Okay. So you guys on Facebook, you guys on PB Nation, want to thank you if you've bought anything from me for helping support the innovation. I use the money most of the time to fund future projects, like for instance the restrictor plates. That took 3 different iterations. The first 2 I lost my ass on. It was bad. But they're finally up and running and working, and I like what they do, but I'm kind of leery on just selling them to everybody. So if you're interested in the restrictor plates, talk to me and we'll go through what you need to do tuning wise to get ready for that. You probably should have a chronograph. But thanks once again for watching this, and play paintball.